Good. I'd like to call the West Hampton Regional Municipality Police Advisory Board meeting to order on April 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Up first is attendance. We were all here. Looks like we have a quorum. Announcements. I have one announcement. West Hampton Regional Municipality acknowledges that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral non-ceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and that this land is governed by the treaties of peace and friendship signed in 1726. West Hampton Regional Municipality also recognizes that we are all treaty people and have responsibilities to this land and each other. West Hampton Regional Municipality also recognizes African Nova Scotians as distinct people whose history, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll look for approval of the agenda with additions or deletions. Any additions or deletions? Looking for approval. Moved by Councilor Yanis, second by attendee Carla. Declaration of conflict of interest. Anybody have any conflicts of interest in tonight's meetings? Seeing none. Approval of the previous meeting minutes, February 17th, 2026, Police Advisory Board minutes. Looking for approval. Moved by Guido, second by Carla. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Presentations, there's none. Business arising from the minutes, old business strategy planning workshop. CEO, you want to take that one?
Only that Ed and I have not been able to connect to come up with some dates and times. We've been busy with a few other things, but regretfully, we have not been able to meet to come up with a strategy or some dates and times. So we'll have to do better after this meeting.
All right, that's an update on that one. Next up is reports. West Hampton RCMP quarterly report, January to March 2026. Sergeant Nugent.
Right. Thank you. Have I got this on? I think I do.
Yeah, you do.
All right. Yes. The CAO is correct. We have been neglecting that duty. We have to get on that. We will, because I am in the process now of generating our annual performance plan for 2026, 2027. And I have to, of course, include consultations and the recommendations made in those consultations in my plans. So we'll have to get on that shortly, and I look forward to hearing recommendations from you folks about what we should be doing this new fiscal year that started earlier this month, or at the beginning of this month, I should say. I'll get into the report without further ado. I will preface it by saying that there's not a whole lot of there wasn't a whole lot of change essentially in our numbers or in what's been happening in general, which is a good thing from a detachment commander's perspective. It's been fairly steady business as normal. There was a slight reduction in call volume over the winter months, which is kind of normal in this area from what I've seen. And I will say our file count was up a little bit over years past, which has been consistent recently. Our file count is kind of slowly creeping up over the years, getting a little bit busier each year, it seems. I'll start with with our positions and kind of a general breakdown of what's been happening person power wise, if you will, human relations wise. Our vacancy rate overall for the year was, our full-time equivalent rate was 18.68 members in positions out of a total of 24. So the vacancy rate was significant, but not crippling. The latter part of the year was the worst, probably quarters 3 and 4. But I will say that things are looking up greatly in that area. We have 4 vacancies right now, hard vacancies, if you will. That's positions that don't have anybody in them yet. It's not a sick leave type thing that we would refer to as a soft vacancy. Of those 4, all 4 have people named for them. The first one likely to arrive is a recruit from Depot, brand new member from Depot. I just found out he passed all of his major tests, and all he's got to do is be good until he until he hits his graduation date on May 4th. So that's great. We expect to see him. He's a young fellow from Yarmouth. I want to say 24 years old. Went to school in Alberta, I think. Yes, Alberta. And coming here, we should see him by the time he gets home, gets his stuff, moves, and is on the road. I expect him probably about the 15th of May. He'll be starting ish. Then we're just in the process of hiring a fellow from the HRP who used to be an RCP member prior to that. So that's great. We call them remounts. They leave the force and come back later. They're a remount of police. And so he is very highly reported on from everything I'm seeing. So that's great. We should see him summer. Still got a fellow coming from Annapolis who's in the process of listing his house to sell right about now, and will be buying in this area. And we hope to see him June, probably, as long as everything goes well with sales. And then a fellow coming from Clarenville, Newfoundland, who's a little bit more up in the air. I'm working on that. We've had, since the last report, 2 of our members start graduated or gradual. I'm not exactly sure what the official term is. Returns to work, whereby they work limited hours on administrative duties, working their way up to full hours, and then back in the uniform where they've been off for a little while. So a corporal and a constable are on their way back in, which is excellent too, after lengthy periods away. So I've been making sure to send updates to everybody just to let them know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because they've been holding the line with limited resources for quite a while now. So this is great news. Fleet's in good shape. Just picked up a brand new black Explorer yesterday. Thought it was going to have grayed out decals on the side. Doesn't have. So that's my next project, is getting a hold of the Fleet guy in St. John's and saying, "Where's my decals?" Decnals, if you're a Trailer Park Boys fan. They're Decnals in our office. Yeah, 2 cars that suffered irreparable engine failures have now been replaced. So we're in pretty good shape. I'm driving right now the oldest one out there. It's our last Hemi Charger though, so we're gonna be sad to see it go and go back to the V6s. But that one's probably next up on the slate. It's only got 100,000 kilometers on it, but it's a 2019, so getting to the end of its days as a police car. Money. We've already presented all this to council. If you have any questions about it, we can go over it. But the long and the short of it is, we were way under budget because of salaries that the municipality wasn't responsible for all those members, that those 5.5-ish members that weren't in seats for the year. So significantly under budget. Have some big expenditures coming up this year that I'm not 100% sure I told Mark about, but we're getting we're actually, one really neat thing that I just learned we're getting here soon is a RPAS, remotely piloted aircraft system, otherwise known as a drone. And it's a really nice one. The force has been using a certain company. Turns out there's maybe some security issues with that. So we're starting with a whole new outfit out of France that's making these things, Parrot, and these drones are unbelievable. They were telling us they had one up above headquarters in Dartmouth recently. I don't know if you guys know where the headquarters, well, yeah, some of you have been there. They put it up above the headquarters parking lot, and they were reading license plates on the McDonald Bridge with the camera. Yeah, vehicles crossing the McDonald Bridge, they were running the license plates. That's amazing. So search and rescue, missing persons, everything, honestly. People fleeing from us into the woods, good luck when we have this thing. It's got FLIR, forward looking infrared. So you can run, but you cannot hide from FLIR. So it's really, really slick. I'm sending 2 people to learn to pilot it soon. You're actually a pilot. According to Transport Canada, when you're running one of these things, it's of the size that requires a course. It's I want to say 2-week, maybe. Certainly a full week course, might be 2. And they'll be accredited. They have to follow all kinds of regulations. We get certain exemptions. And there's no, there's no real danger zones right in West Hants that we have to be too worried about. No military base like in Greenwood, where we got in a little bit of trouble in Kings when I was there for a drone. But anyway, military don't like you flying unauthorized aircraft over their airspace without, checking in. Anywho, don't have to worry about that here. That's coming. It's the big thing. Budget wise, yeah, nothing big from last year on that. Moving on, calls for service. Like I said, 1,506 calls in Q4, down from 1,634 in Q3, and it maxed out at 1,948 in the second quarter, 1,757 in the first. So if history is any guide, we will my next report will have snuck back up, but second quarter is usually the busiest, which is fall. No, wait, no. First quarter is summer, sorry. First quarter is April, May, June. So July, August, September is our busiest quarter. And I suspect that will hold true next year. As you can see from the fiscal year totals on the second bar there, this is in point number 4. We've been getting steadily busier. There was a little bit of a drop in 2023-24, but last year was up to 6208 and this year 6845. So, a significant climb, but nothing crippling. But if you look back, 2021 would be COVID numbers, which were artificially low, I would suggest. Call volume dropped significantly during COVID. So maybe we're kind of back up to where we were before, but still a climb in the last 5 or so. So we'll look out to see what it does next year. Overall statistics, I'll mostly leave that to questions, but I believe from my own sort of quick look at things that most of our more significant areas were down a little bit. I know sexual offenses were down significantly. Sudden deaths, interestingly enough, were down. Coroners, assistance to the medical examiner, we call it in Nova Scotia, but non-suspicious deaths. Thankfully, all of them were, but those numbers were quite a lot lower than Q3. So, and yeah, thankfully nothing suspicious. Motor vehicle collisions were down significantly, but roughly the same as they were in Q3 of last year. A little tiny bit higher, I believe, but yeah. 92 up from 84 same period last year, but down big time from 121 last quarter. No fatal collisions, thankfully. I will say, I'm jumping ahead a little bit in time, but I will say that now this would be technically Q1 of the new fiscal year, but last week we did have a very serious pedestrian collision in Windsor. The lady is hanging in, but she was significantly injured. So I spoke to the mayor that day or communicated with him at least via text, and spoke to the lady's husband the next day and passed along the best wishes and prayers of the mayor and council per his request. And I think it was very much appreciated. So I've been in contact with that gentleman a couple of times, and his wife's a tough lady, but she was hurt quite badly. So that was a sobering reminder of the dangers of intersections, especially in my view, making right turns in busy intersections on a green light, and especially in perhaps older, more built up communities, which we have many in this province. You don't necessarily have a really good view of that crosswalk when you're making a right turn on a green light, but you don't have as much time as you do, crossing the intersection to make a left. You're kind of hurried sometimes to make that right on a green, and it can be dangerous. So I try to, bring it up as much as I can. We just have to take way more time, have to be very, very, very careful, especially during busy periods of the day, making a turn or just crossing any intersection, driving in general, but especially in busy areas, because this was a reminder that just It only takes one moment, one very brief lapse to change a lot of people's lives forever. So we had, of course, our very highly trained collision reconstructionist come up to one of the several in the province and do an investigation. So we're throwing all the resources at it to make sure that we get the best picture of what happened. Moving on from that, just have some basics about what our sections have been doing. Constable Trendham's been busy this last month with GIS. Or this last quarter, I should say, last 3 months. He's been helping out a lot with a number of investigations, some tricky ones. I mentioned that there was a allegation of the creation of what may have been considered written child pornography at a school. That can be very tricky to navigate, and so he helped one of our more junior constables work his way through that one, and I believe that whole situation has been resolved now. And a number of other investigations he helped write, or either wrote or assisted with the writing of a great deal of paper, as we call it, judicial authorizations. So search warrant applications, production order applications for some investigations of fraud or two, I believe. Another maybe quick public service announcement, if you will. We have been seeing a lot of fraud. It might be worth talking about in our when we meet to discuss priorities for this year. I've been talking to a couple of seniors. Well, I've been speaking to one seniors group, and one of my constables has been speaking to one of the care homes about doing presentations for seniors, because just this week I heard, or Friday past, I heard of one lady gave $3,000 to somebody she thought was her son, and actually that's one of two I can name in recent memory where the fraudster was either texting or on another line talking the victim through the questions that the bank were going to ask, or were actively asking while the person was on the other line, because somebody at the bank picked up on it and said, this is a fraud, definitely, and called the person, the victim, and said, are you sure this is not a fraud? Like, we think it's a fraud. And the fraudster was actually telling them how to respond to convince the bank teller or the bank fraud prevention person that it was legitimate. And unfortunately for the victim, the bank, in one case at least, the bank teller told them, they said, listen, if this does prove to be a fraud, we have done our due diligence to warn you, and you have to recognize that if you provide this money, I'm telling you that it's probably a fraud. And so if you give this money, you're on your own, basically. And I can understand that. And of course they did. And now it's highly unlikely the bank's going to be able to help them with it. So yeah, we've been seeing a lot of it, all internet based, and in my experience, extremely difficult to prosecute, because in the majority of cases, the perpetrators are overseas and in places that are not well policed. So we don't have a lot of recourse to deal with them. We have stopped some money transfers in huge quantities. Actually, Constable Trentham was instrumental in one, I think it was last year, stopped a huge amount of money from being wired, like hundreds of thousands, I think, were saved, something like that. Just managed to get onto the wire transfer in time. It was a business one. Yeah. I apologize. My photographs are atrociously out of date. I think I've promised several times to get new ones. While I am not going to promise again, I will promise to ask people for new photos that I can put on here, because I'm so terrible at taking them myself. Initiatives, yeah, we'll talk about the new ones coming forward. We did pretty well on our objectives. We just missed total tickets that we were trying to get. I think we were aiming for 1,100 traffic tickets, and we got 893 or something like that. Given the reduced numbers of members available, I think that was pretty good. Check stops, we were off, but we still had 120 or something like that, which was pretty good. They did quite well. I was proud of them. There was a lot of impaired drivers caught this year, including just moving on to kind of skipping ahead here, number 11. Or did I already skip past the impaired driving? I apologize. It might be earlier. Yeah. 12 criminal charges in Q4 for impaired driving and 11 roadside suspensions as well, in addition to those 12 criminal code impaired charges. So that's pretty darn good, I thought, for the quarter. And they did 29 check stops in Q4 as well, and 110 of those 890-ish tickets. So down this quarter in tickets, but I've been attributing that at least partly to the fact that a number of our senior constables transferred out in the fall and were replaced with new members who don't have radar training. So I gotta get them trained up. We're working on it so they can issue more speeding tickets. But that's part of the reason they're giving out more warnings than tickets right now. Not everyone, I'm sure, in the community would be too upset to hear that, but I'm sure most people are good with the warnings numbers. But yeah, and what was it? 11 break and enters, down from 18 in Q3. 6 missing persons. I think I mentioned this in the last meeting, perhaps, so I won't go into it in too much detail, but one was a very concerning one. 2 small kids just threw their boots on and walked into the woods in January, and everybody, the whole world mobilized very quickly to try to get after them. But thankfully, a very quick thinking neighbor on an ATV found them right away. And I didn't even get a chance to get the ground search team rolling. I was dialing, I was getting a hold of dispatch, and I think we had just asked for a team when the members called me and said, nope, we're good, located. So we were calling in all of the cavalry that I could possibly think of, between the risk manager and headquarters and we were calling out everybody we'd ever met to try to find these guys. And thankfully we didn't, it was all done before we could get anything going. 55 well-being checks. Seems like a lot of those here. We got a lot of people calling, just asking us to look in on folks they know, or we get people calling helplines and saying concerning things, and then workers will get a hold of us and try to find them. I just kind of selected a sampling of those files when I was doing this, and yeah, quite a lot of checks. I guess it speaks well of people in this area that they're concerned about their friends and neighbors and family, and looking for help to make sure they're okay. So I encourage it. Okay, we might not get to it immediately, but usually pretty quick, within a couple of hours at least. And all of these cases, or the vast majority, the people were doing well. Yeah, I've been attending the Windsor Business Association, or Downtown Business Association meetings. I've been to a couple, and just discussing concerns there. And Tim and I he went to the latest one, but I think I went to all of them in Q3, the Diverse, Inclusive, and Equitable Communities Committee meetings as well. That's it. Questions?
Any questions for Ed on this report? Guido?
Not a question, but talking about roads, especially with the elder people. I have heard recently someone talking about family code word. Family code word.
Oh yeah,
Like
I could say for it. That's a
time
great idea.
Like in time of military operation, you need to say your code word
I
to
follow you.
pass a pass point.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
It is.
I actually would have 2 in each family, meaning that you go with the first one and then you ask the second one.
Yeah.
And I think it should be spread around, because with the increase of AI voicing, you cannot distinguish anymore, not only the voice, but the feature. If it's a video, they can replicate you, and in any sense, it's very easy.
Yeah, I have been finding that a lot of these files, at least the ones we're seeing here, it's not necessarily that they're going to that kind of a length to reproduce somebody's voice. They may not even have a clue what the person sounds like. They'll just say, it's your son. And someone will say, oh, you mean Mike? Yeah, it's me, Mike. You know what I mean? Or something, or they'll text or something like that. But yeah, that is definitely a concern, but I think that's an excellent idea. The one thing I will say is, do not put that code word in writing, in a text, or on the internet in any way, on your phone, nowhere. If you're going to do it, share it in person, ideally, but at least by voice. on, if what you're confident is a secure sort of phone call. Because if you put that in an email or in a text message, chances are they'll find it, and then because oftentimes when these people have gotten into accounts or something like that, or they'll know at least the basics of a family or something like that. So I would strongly suggest not sharing your code word, written down via electronic means. Other than that, it's an excellent idea.
Any more questions? Rita?
Well, it's not another question. It's something that actually I would have brought about a couple times ago, meaning 2 meetings,
Yep.
which is a long time. By the time I get involved in committees and things, I don't know how it came to my email, but kind of the minute, I don't know what political view would they do. They bring you a report of whatever is done happening in Ottawa, in everything major politically decision. And this is issue 34. And I read it literally 1 minute and a half. A new report warns, and you already mentioned that it is nothing about our thing, but is going around. And so I was curious to have an opinion. A new report warns that the number of RCMP officers on long-term sick leave has reached record levels, creating serious staffing and financial strains for the force. About 7% of regular members are off duty on extended leave, costing an estimated $58 million annually, with cases often lasting more than a year. The Management Advisory Board argues the current system of unlimited sick leave at full pay discourages timely returns and is unsustainable, recommending reforms such as reduced pay after a certain period. The RCMP union strongly dispute this, saying the real issue is poor management of return to work and disability accommodation programs, not the leave policy itself. Union President Brian Sauvé stressed that officers often go months without follow-up from the employer and insisted that any changes must be negotiated at the bargaining table. Other police forces, like Edmonton's, use models that reduce pay after extended absences. But critics say the RCMP's unique position outside provincial compensation systems complicates comparisons. The RCMP has acknowledged the concerns and says it is reviewing the recommendation as part of the broader efforts to improve employee health and wellness support. Now, this is the first time that the minutes actually does end an article in a sarcastic way. I read it with that sarcastic tone because that's normally they are matter of fact.
Mhm.
And the ending is, who could possibly have predicted that offering unlimited sick leave would lead to a record number of employees being on sick leave? Question mark. When I read the sarcastic ending of that, I said, I need to bring it upon, and I wanted to bring upon earlier in our meetings, but I couldn't. It is not recent. It's a few months ago.
Yeah.
Has anything changed since then? How is the situation evolving nationally?
I am going to choose my words very carefully going on from here, but I'll just say that I don't know who this author is, but
Oh, I
There's
can send you actually the
Yeah,
entire
maybe.
issue if you
I'll
want.
have a look.
You can
But
see it. Yeah.
there's a possibility he may be preaching to a choir here. I can't speak obviously for the RCB nationally. I know that I have at least heard of efforts being underway. I know that in H division, that's Nova Scotia, there has been a concerted effort to try to improve contact with people who are on long-term leave. I can say with certainty that Southwest Nova, that's our section of the province here. So there's Southwest Nova District, Northeast Nova District, then Halifax Regional District. That's what the RCMP is broken down into broadly in the province. And I can say that Southwest Nova, our long-term sick leave issue, the numbers of people off have been reduced drastically in the last year or two. And honestly, I attribute that in large part to our outgoing district commander, Superintendent Popick. He has been just visiting people and making expectations clear and just, asking what their plan are, committing to supporting them in a return to work or in whatever path those people choose. And it has the impact has been obvious. We've had a number of people make a decision one way or the other, come back or not. And I've seen the outcome of that here too. So nationally, I can't really comment on it. I can't say I'm surprised. I didn't catch what percentage you said. I think it was 7.
It reads, and again, to anyone that wants to have that
Mhm.
article, I can send it by email. Just let me
Mhm.
know. Says about 7% of regular members are off duty on extended leave.
I can tell you that we have seen significantly higher than that here, and I did in Kings as well. So yeah, it's an issue, and the unlimited sick leave issue, that's the one I'm going to be very careful about. I won't say my personal views, because there are obviously many cases where that there's a reason we have that as police officers. I think that it was certainly put in place to probably address serious injuries on the job or things like that, where people might need very lengthy recovery periods that you don't necessarily see in all occupations. But yeah, I think that's something in the system is going to have to change in years to come. And now that we are unionized and have a union type negotiated contract, I am sure that that issue is or will soon be raised and in contract negotiations. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I get the sentiment 100%, and it is. I'm the guy on the ground right now trying to wrestle with those issues. So yeah, I'm very curious as to how it's all going to work out too.
Thank you.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
And drones,
Fire away. Yes, sir.
how high up do they going? Are they noisy? Can you sneak up on somebody? Or is it big lights flashing?
It's a lot of questions.
It is.
said 8. I was like 4.
I'm just familiar with ones in Ontario. I know how they.
They can get high enough that, especially at night, it's going to be highly unlikely that anybody knows they're being watched. They certainly emit enough noise that you can hear them. We were using one, and it's significantly less capable than the one we're getting here soon. But we used one at a planned protest there over the weekend, which went very well, by the way. People might have been able to see it. They're shocked at how easily it stands out. When you know what you're looking for, you can really spot them on a clear day or a decent day. It wasn't all that great a day on Saturday, but it was quite obvious against the sky in daylight. But in the dark, good luck. And it was high enough. I think he said he was at 500 feet, that one, and we can fly them higher. And with the camera on this new one, geez, we can go really high and still have a good view, especially in daylight. So yeah, you can sneak up. I know I was listening to a apprehension of a suspect who flew into the wood or ran into the woods in Kings recently, and like they were directing our members right onto him. They were watching him from way up. I don't think he had a clue the drone was there. They said, like, member number 1, you're 50 feet out from him. Keep going. Up, turn left a little bit. They were watching him, and we had this Blue Force tracking thing on our phones, so they were looking at their phone and comparing that to the drone, and they knew exactly where everybody was, and they were just bringing the net in. It was really really neat to listen to. Yeah.
So that sounds quite familiar to the PO police ones, the ones I use, which I'm familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Seeing no more questions, we'll move down to the next section. New business, speeding, Falmouth and Fremont Plains. You and I had a conversation. I assume that's been addressed as we sit here.
We're working on it. Yeah, I've been sending things out. We actually have we're getting statistics now once a month from a lady in she works at a Numinus. I think she's a Southwest Nova district asset, I believe, but she's doing up intelligence reports for all the district commanders monthly and identifying traffic areas of concern amongst other things. And Falmouth came up. I think 3 Mile Plains might be on this recent one that you mentioned too. And so we've been tasked, the commanders have, myself included, with coming up with or having someone do a plan for, actioning this intelligence we're getting in these reports. And so our plan includes a traffic initiative, and right now the two hotspots on it are those two, 3 Mile Plains and West Hants. So I've got Corporal Trites directing members to conduct patrols out there and writing some tickets, and we're just gonna push the traffic there and do as much as we can. I'll have a discussion with Jason here soon to see how that's going and ways that we can kind of target efforts. And yeah, and then we will readjust our target areas as we get different complaints and see if volume starts kind of falling off there. If people start getting the message, we'll move down the road somewhere else.
Great. Sounds like being addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is handling complaints about camping on provincial municipal lands. Councillor Yanish? Light.
Thank you, Chair. This is an issue that comes up every year in my district, and I think probably across, the municipality. And the reason I bring it up is that it'd be really helpful to know when the RCMP could be or should be involved. And if I can describe the situation on the Hants Shore, we have a number of municipal parks. One, it's the Quarry, there's one in Somerville, and then there's sort of one in Chevery by the Crossway. And traditionally, there's always been some campers. And in fact, quite often, the community kind of enjoys talking to these people because they don't know where they're from. And they often just stay for a night. They need a place to pull over and then they leave. And it hasn't never really been an issue. And I think with few things have happened, but certainly with social media, when people find a nice camp place where they can get to the beach, they tell their friends and they attract a lot more people. But it's not just the municipal parks that we're talking about. We also have Shipyard Road, and there's a beach there which people like to go to for fishing. And there's one at the end of Ocean Beach Road. Yeah, it's good fishing. You want to wait till August or something, but anyhow, so we have the municipal parks, and then we have provincial land. And if it's a municipal park, you can call, and if there's somebody there saying camping for the weekend, and they put all their barbecues and mats out, invite their friends over and have a big, people start to get upset. Our bylaw officers are typically don't work so much on weekends. So it's an issue, but it's municipal land. But when you're dealing with the Shipyard Road or Ocean Beach Road and those beach places where people can get to the beach, set up, and it gets so bad that the people in the community can't say they can't get to the beach because it's so crowded because there's issues with dogs, and it gets very heated is what I'm trying to say. And so at that point, it's a weekend, and can't call natural resources typically on a weekend. They are responsive sometimes. I can't say they aren't. But that sort of leaves the RCMP. And then the final point I'll make, and I'm happy to elaborate a little bit, I'm talking a lot. Last year, when they closed the woods, then that forced forced people out of the woods and into onto either the municipal park lands, private land, or provincial land. But it was an issue that was driven, a policy that was driven by the province. So again, who do we call? So I think it's worth a conversation. I don't know if we'd necessarily come up with a roadmap here. Maybe it's something for our strategic planning session, but I did want to bring it up because it's almost May and these issues are up again.
All right. Thank you, first of all, for giving me a heads up on that. I wasn't aware that we had much of that issue here. Good to know coming into the summer. Yeah, I don't think it's something that we'll be able to work out right here, but maybe something to bring forward with planning for sure, because I'd have to take a little bit of a dive into the provincial, the regulations surrounding land use and things like that, because I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of, I'm not thinking of any offenses really on provincial land for short-term use, unless there was signage from the province saying they're not to use it for that, or if
That
there's,
tends to disappear, that sign.
well, it's, yeah, if it was signed at some point, then we could probably move forward with it. I'm just thinking, have there been complaints? Like, have people been telling you that they called the police and didn't get a response, or has there been?
They
anything
usually
like that?
call me or come into my yard and complaints. And it's surprising.
I've seen that movie.
They're looking for an officer.
They would like an officer to deal with it.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't promise that it's something we will be
it-
able to in all circumstances. And obviously it would, it would be triaged against the other calls that the guys or girls are getting those days and evenings. And I can't promise that a dispute over beach access would be something that they'll be able to get to right away for sure, or something we can necessarily deal with. Like if these people are obstructing roadways or something like that, we might have something we can work with. I'll have to give it some thought. Maybe we can talk about it via email.
Yeah, I think it's worth a conversation and it's not an easy one to figure out.
No, it's a tricky one for sure. The bylaw or the town municipal parks one is a little bit more clear cut. That's something that if, on the weekends, if it's a significant issue and bylaw is unavailable to deal with it, well, maybe my people can get out and sort it out. But again,
So I don't call
Yeah.
Mark, I call you.
on the weekend, you can have your constituents call the non-emergency line for the police is the best way. And honestly, the dispatchers will make a case by case decision on whether or not it's something to notify our guys about it. And if it is, then our guys will deal with it.
So even though it's a municipal property and it's municipal bylaws that are, with the signage, there's very good signage right now.
I think if the case was made that it had been reported to the municipality, but they don't have anybody available to deal with it, if it's all going to come down to what's happening in that case. Like if it's if it's an immediate concern that needs to be addressed, then the dispatchers will send somebody. But if it's something that could wait until the week or something like that, they might decide otherwise. It's difficult to determine in advance what will be done because we don't know the circumstances. But if it's a loud party or something like that that's disturbing people actively, then chances are we will get sent there. Is that what you were talking about? Noisy parties that are annoying them, or is just the fact that people are using the park and they're not supposed to be? That's
Really, it's people saying they can't enjoy, people from the local community saying they can't enjoy the beach because there's too many people. They don't have access to it. It's literally that bad.
There's that many people on the
At,
beach.
particularly at places like Ocean Beach Road and sometimes at Shipyard Road.
I will
The
say
municipal
that-
parks, it's more the occasional party.
Yeah.
And
The occasional party, if it's a noise thing and it's disturbing people, absolutely. We will address that. An overcrowded beach, likely not. That is not something that we can, because nobody's committing an offense by using a public beach or being on the beach at all. You can't prevent access to, water or to open land for recreation sort of thing. So
that's it's a good answer. It's good to hear that.
yeah.
But it's not addressing the problem. And there's going to be a problem. And
Being conflict between people. Yeah. And that, of course, we will attend for. If there's a conflict, if people are fighting over the beach, we will attend and sort it out. But in terms of preventing somebody from using the beach, we can't prioritize one group of people over another. Like a visitor
Yes.
to the area has just as much right to use a beach as a local. You know what I mean? In the eyes of the law, or if it's, crown land or provincial land.
Yeah.
Am I missing something there, or
no,
is there?
it's just, I've never had this conversation with
Yeah.
anyone before, so it's very helpful. But every summer is, it's more or less the same. These problems come up. Last year it was more acute because of the wood fire ban.
Yeah.
And that one, and particularly one individual kept moving around from site to site.
Camping sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of. But and I think you guys actually handled it really well.
Okay.
But then eventually the problem resolved itself, but it took quite a while.
Okay.
And there
I'm
were
not
a lot
familiar
of-
with that one, but maybe we can talk to you after and get
Yeah.
the story there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just from a municipal perspective, we're trying to be a bit more diligent this year in getting our no tenting overnight signs out. I think we talked about that a little bit on the side last week, Rupert, but some of our signs, it's incorporated within a bigger sign. So no tenting, dogs on a leash. So it gets missed a little bit potentially. So we're trying to address that in some of the more common areas that we've had overnight tenters. I think, Ed, you've had the benefit of seeing one of our letters. We've
Yeah.
drafted letters now that are somewhat templates that our bylaw enforcement can post on tents and so forth, asking them to vacate municipal property. It's not intended for the purpose. And then we point them in a direction for assistance, especially if it's someone that's living rough or homeless versus someone who's recreating. For the summer is a little different approach on that front. Yeah, but and Kathy, again, those signs are going, if they're not out now, they will soon be going out. They're a little bigger, a little bit more prominent to try to encourage it. So that kind of helps, I'm sure, from your point of view and all the rest, but yeah. It's becoming more common,
Good, Roop?
Well, it's still worth, I have to think about it some more.
Yeah.
And see, maybe I'll think of a few suggestions or more specific questions that I can ask, just because sometimes you just don't know who to call.
Yeah.
And
And I'd never discourage somebody from if they think that there is something that the police need to be dealing with. I know a lot of people are often, they feel like they'd be bothering the police and things like that. And we get that, we appreciate it, but we do have call takers in the operations control center at headquarters 24/7. They're there, and that's their job is to triage these calls to sort through these and determine what requires a police response and what doesn't. And if there's questions, if they're not sure, they'll contact, they have a uniformed, like regular member of the RCMP there, the risk manager, who can help them make those decisions. They have supervisors, and they also can contact the detachments themselves and see if it's something that, you know, we think that we should be addressing. And they can also take a message from somebody looking for a call back from a police officer to sort out, you know, to answer questions. So they can, you know, people can, if they feel it's a significant issue that needs a police response, they can give us a call and we can let them know if it's something we will do. That's the best best immediate answer I have for you, but
Yeah.
we can certainly look at it in more detail, either by call or email afterward.
I'll just finish by saying that the whole issue of beach access is getting more and more in the public eye.
Sure.
And people are more and more concerned, particularly people from local communities, that they have less and less access to the beach. And so that people have become very, very sensitive to that issue. And I just think it needs to be, at least to be on our radar, even if we're limited in how we can deal with it. But it's certainly, in the 10 years I've been doing this, it's certainly become much more of an issue.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
So the non-emergency phone number one is 902-798-2207. Feel free to call at any time. They'll make the decision whether they have to send somebody or not.
There's always somebody there to take your call, whether they're local or not. And if they're not local, they will find the answers from somebody who is. So don't worry about talking to somebody who's not in the detachment. You're going to get the same level of service from a dispatcher in Dartmouth. In fact, they're often better positioned to get a file created and get things moving. You know.
Again, that number is 902-798-2207.
You got it.
Up next, the correspondence is none. Public participation, there's nobody here. In camera, none. Our next meeting is July 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Guido, second by Councilor Yanis. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
See you July 20th.